You're now free to move about
To
the
fly
country.
back the country.
Woo! Woo! Welcome to the happy half hour
Welcome to the
with a
happy
couple of
half
half
hour.
wits.
Speak
I'm
for
Joseph
yourself. I
Mojo McCarthy.
represent
I'm
that.
here with my bro, Steve O'Hays. We have some live audience participation with Awesome Mary and Happy, who may have to check out at one point, but cool that her name is built right into the title of our show.
Yes,
Woo!
it
So this
is.
is Happy Half Hour, Season 1, Episode 7. Woo, woo,
Wow.
woo, woo,
Episode
woo, woo.
7,
Rock
baby.
on. All right.
Yes,
So,
sir.
Steve O'Hays, before we get into this, for those who are tuning in for the first time, would you introduce yourself and let people know what you're all about?
My name is Steve. My friends who know me call me Steve O, but those who really know me call me Steve Uh-oh. But I'm a happypreneur. I'm here to find creative ways to help make you happy. I'm here to navigate, activate, and advocate your happy life. That means to find it, turn it on, and then walk alongside you because we need help walking alongside that. We don't think happy is something that you get due to circumstances because circumstances, they rarely ever cooperate. And people are always saying, I can't wait for this to be done. I'll be happy when this is over. Well, now I just gave my happy to somebody else. We talked about paying attention. What you pay attention to, you buy. And when we say things like, I'll be happy when that's over, now I can't be happy until it's over. And what if it doesn't end? When I could be happy right now, we think that a happy life is a lifestyle where you get and keep your happy no matter what the circumstances are. So that's a little bit about me. Joe, tell our listeners, our watchers, a little bit about who you are, Mr.
Yes.
Polymath.
I am Joseph Mojo McCarthy. I'm creative communicator. I am a playful polymath. In fact, the
Not
word play.
polymeth, polymath. Now you might think meth when you hear him a little bit, but Joe is high enough on life already. Sorry, Joe, I totally hijacked that from you, but
Ah, I might be a polymyth when it's all done here.
that's true.
So,
That's true.
but I'm a playful polymath. I say that intentionally because play is my acronym. I just think that every day we should play, and the PLAY stands for pretend, which is just unleashing your unlimited imagination. L for laughter, which overlaps the HELP in Stevo's best acronym. And then PL, pretend, laugh, A, ask. It's curiosity, right? Curiosity keeps us growing, keeps us looking and learning, and suspends the tendency to say, oh, I know, I got that figured out, because we don't. And then Y, yield. Yield is to release control. And actually, there's this, the Y in the sign, right, is means that you're going to, instead of take the lead, you can follow what's going on. And sometimes you're in the front, sometimes you're in the back, just like the geese when they're flying in that same V formation. Sometimes you're the one at the front, and then you're taking out, you're taking all the flack. And sometimes you get to hang out with your friends and just hang out and draft with them. So actually, draft is a good word. We're talking about happy half hour. I didn't even make that connection until right now.
Oh,
But anyway,
draft. Ooh, look at you with the word. You
woo,
should say wordsmith in there. You should say a
word
word,
nerd, word
Polly,
nerd.
word nerd, because that's
Yeah,
really what you are.
I definitely word nerd.
And I like the
But
whole idea too of the why. Like you're going down this straight path, which we all want to get from point A to point B just as quickly as possible. That's
right,
part of the problem in life. That
yes,
Author Louis L'Amour said something about it's not the end of the trail, it's the trail itself. That's the
yes,
real thing. But when you get to the why, and this is what you were trying to talk about, what you mentioned a little bit, but I just want to tag on a little bit more. You got two options there. Life is full of options. And sometimes it's as simple as go back to where you made that choice that you don't like where you're at right now and take the other option. But to do that, we've got to admit we're on the wrong road. We got to own it. We got to back up, and then we got to just start over again. But that's the cool thing about life is that every day, boy, there's so much to do. Well, that gives me a reason to get out of bed in the morning. So thank you guys for joining us, man. We're so excited that you're joining this happy half hour. We're going to pour you a little bit of digital courage, not
that's
liquid
right.
courage. We're going to pour you some digital courage. We're going to pour some courage into you. That's what courage means. Encourage means to pour courage into. Joe, what should we talk about today?
Well, I just love this idea, this metaphor of digital courage and pouring it up in the happy half hour, because in my mind, I'm thinking it's like a dry bar. It's like a digital dry bar where you just
Mm,
show up.
digital
You're not here to
driver.
get drunk. We're having a digital dry bar here to have a conversation. Really, because the best part about the bar, in my opinion, isn't the alcohol. It's the hanging out. It's the camaraderie. It's the
Yeah.
conversations that
Otherwise,
matter.
you would drink at home.
Yeah, and that's not nearly as fun, right?
Right.
Because it's hanging out, because it's not only true that misery loves company, which is true because actually that helps to share the load, but happy loves company as well. Happy
Yeah.
is better
It's
in a
true.
party, right?
It's
So
true.
I think we're built with two essential vitamin C's every day we need. One is connections, which we just talked about,
Love
and
that.
the other is contributions. So we connections, we're in this all together, and then what do I have to give? How what do I have to offer to any
Yeah.
given situation? Rather than
Yeah.
what's in it for me, it's what's in it for me to give. But here's the
Right.
deal. Today, this episode is really cool. This is episode 7. It's the first time we've had a live guest on the show that's willing to participate. Actually, I have 2 live guests. I know Happy can't stay, but I just want to shout out to Happy before she has to go because Happy is one of the founders and the builders of this platform, Chatmost, that we're on right now. And I love the coincidence or the great synchronicity that our names built right into our show. But Happy, thanks for being here and for all the support you've given us to get this thing rocking and rolling. So we've given the mic to Awesome Mary. Awesome Mary was in our show, episode 6, listening and taking notes. And actually, thank you, Mary, for monitoring the chat. That was fantastic. But please feel free to unmic and either state, first tell us about you, and then anything you want to say or ask about where we've gone so far with the show.
First of all, I want to congratulate you guys. You guys are amazing. You guys, it is like the yin and yang. You guys are very, you fit really well.
He's the yin, I'm the yang. He's
The
the
yin
yin.
and yang. And so, yeah, I love this idea of allowing people to kind of you know simmer what you guys talked about a lot on the last episode, and then kind of like share ideas with you guys or just thoughts. One of the things that you guys talked about last on the episode was that um what you concentrate on, what you think about is, if you're thinking about fear, you're thinking about anxiety, then that's what's gonna pour out. And I remember, I don't know, I was on a platform called Periscope, and somehow I got involved with these conspiracy theorists where I was listening to a lot of those podcasts or live spaces. And I I was so afraid. I mean, after
Mhm.
listening to those for quite a while, I was so afraid. And at the time my husband was alive, and I remember telling him, we need to start, like, we need to get a gun. We got to get this because the picture that they were drawing or whatever in our minds was that we're going to have these people, knocking down on our door and, damaging our kids and all this stuff. And I was telling my husband, we need to get protection because I was so scared. And but that's because that was what I was putting in my mind. Why they say garbage in, garbage out. And so yeah, it was absolutely, I can definitely testify to that. And then my husband was like, you know what, you need to stop listening to that for a just stop listening to it. And I did, and and so none of that stuff's happened. None of that stuff that they were talking about.
Right,
People
right,
not
and that's true. The
yeah,
things that we fear rarely ever do happen.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Mary. Actually, first, this was your idea to have audience participation. So thank you for that, for planting
Yeah,
that seed just a few minutes ago,
Mhm.
but also jumping right in and sharing a story because the stories of our lives I can't I can't think of anything more important or more powerful than the stories of our lives because you can argue with my theology, you can argue with my philosophy, you can argue with my political party, you can argue with my taste. But what you can't argue with is my story. My story is my experience and there's no changing that. There's no argument there. So for you to come and share your story, that's really powerful. That's exactly what you experienced. It illustrates a principle, but man, people very rarely remember principles, but they remember the stories.
right,
That's how we learn. So
right,
thank you for that very much. And it's true. It's a great illustration that that our mind is so powerful that it'll create a whole world based on just what one little focus we have.
right,
And so there's a big danger. And I heard this from Sadhguru in this great conversation. He says, anytime the words "I know" come out of my mouth or even in my mind, I like danger, like these bells and whistles go up. Alert, alert. I know, really? Of all the stuff there is to know, how much of that do I know? Like if you drew this big circle, let's say you drew a circle the size of a basketball court and you've given a pen saying, color in as much of the basketball court of this is the court represents all the knowledge of all things there is to know about everything. Color in how much you know. I'm like, the pen's too big. Right? I can't even find a fine point pen that's small enough to say the percentage of all there is to know about what I know. So this danger of saying, "Oh, I know," and I'm right. Those are bad phrases because I've shut myself off to any other possibility, and I've decided that the world is exactly the way I think it is. When of course it's a teeny tiny percentage of what there is to experience. What's that?
Yeah. And
Go
I,
ahead,
I
Steve.
love what you said earlier too about the story. You can't argue with my story. And I would add on to that and say, your story matters. You who are listening to this right now, whether you're
Yeah.
listening to it live or you're listening to it recorded, your story matters. Everybody's story matters. Everybody's story is important. And if we pay attention to other people's stories, our story is only going to get better. We're in this thing together. It's like this big recipe, and I've got this killer recipe for homemade ice cream. And believe it or not, you put salt in homemade ice cream. You put a
Ew.
very little bit, but you still put salt in homemade ice cream. And if you don't put it in, it doesn't have the same taste. And maybe we just need a little bit of you or a little bit of me. People are always wishing they had less of me, right? Maybe. But all of us, we add different, some of us are salty, some of us are sweet, some of us are a little nutty, right? But when you put all those in the mix, it makes a great recipe. And so your story, it really does matter. And so it's important that we find out your story. And I think smart people, here's something that I learned last week. A question that we should be asking each other is, tell me your story. My buddy was
Mm.
doing a school assembly, and this student came up to him afterwards, and he was talking about, drugs and masking our pain and all that type of stuff. And a person came up and said, man, I really like what you had to say, but I'm still going to do drugs. So, and after he just spent 45 minutes just really trying to convince them the error of that and the consequences of
The
that.
dangers, yeah, right.
Yeah. But instead of just getting butthurt or getting offended or whatever, what he did was he said, well, tell me your story.
Mm.
And he said,
Wow.
by the time that person finished their story, like he was in tears.
Yeah.
Like what that person, he's like, no wonder.
Yeah.
I get it. And I think what a great question for us to ask people. What's it
Yes.
like? What's your worst day like?
Mm.
Or, that old proverb that I don't know if it's an Indian proverb or what, but don't judge someone until you walk a mile in their moccasins, whatever. We've
Mm.
turned it into don't judge somebody until you've walked a mile in their shoes, which is a good idea because then you have a new pair of shoes and you're a mile away. So you get to keep them. But anyway,
Well,
I
to
just want to encourage you that your story matters. And we tend to give all the credit and the glory to the people that are holding the microphone, to the people that are on the stage. And yes, their story matters, but you might be a person that'll never get on a stage. Maybe a person that's introverted, doesn't even want to get on a stage. Your story still matters, and it still matters to somebody. And that's what you have to offer. And it's not a little thing, it's a huge thing
right.
to offer.
Yeah. That's a good point, Steve. In fact, I just read recently online that one of your great superpowers, one of your great advantages in life is your story because nobody else has it, right? That's something you have that nobody else has. That makes you it makes you an expert. You're an expert in one thing. And what's that? Your own
Your
story. You're an
story and
expert.
you. Yeah.
Yes, in you, right. Yeah, and we live in a society now that actually sharing your story can help somebody else who's
Yeah.
probably now going. Look, let me put it a different way. I've heard it said, and I see Mary's got a question. We'll get right to you, Mary. I've heard it said that we are most qualified to help the people who we were in our past. We're most qualified to
Mm.
help
Say that
the
again.
people. We're the most qualified. You, whoever's listening, you are the most qualified person on the planet to help the person you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Why is that? Because you know exactly what it takes to get from there to here. You have done it. You are a subject matter expert in you, right? And there's a lot of people going through a struggle that I've been through, and I actually have the power, the superpower to say, "Hey, I can't walk through the struggle for you, but I can walk through it with you." And that makes a big difference. Mary, jump in. I see your hand up.
Yeah, so no, I don't have a question, but I have a comment. And
Please.
that is that yeah, it's true. I grew Steve-O doesn't know this, but Joe does. I grew up in a cult from the time I was 8 years old until I was 25. And, to me it's like, oh well, that's part of my past. But a couple weeks ago I got interviewed and it was like a 3-hour interview, but I was having a blast because I was telling my story. And one of the hosts, he said, "Man, you changed my life
Right.
just
Mm.
by what you're saying. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anybody who had been in a cult before." And I was like, "Wow, really?" Like
Really.
that's yeah, so that was pretty
So good. So
What a
pretty
good.
what a
yeah,
perfect illustration, yeah.
yeah.
And I remember you were shocked by that. I was listening to that interview, you were shocked, like, "How did I change his life?" You changed
Yeah.
his life because you gave him something to think about that he'd never thought about before, right?
Yeah.
You changed his mind, and if you change your mind, you change your world, so
Yeah.
that's fantastic. What a great illustration. Steve was
And I
on your
think
mind.
part of our story too is the story we're telling ourselves.
Yes.
That's part of our story too.
Explain, yeah.
Perception is huge. You
Right.
said it in the last show. You
Mm,
said that what we believe, our reality becomes our reality. Our perception of our reality. It could be off. I'm
mhm,
not a loser, but if
mhm,
I think I'm a loser, I
mhm,
start living like a loser, and I am
mhm,
living like a loser at that point. And it's this crazy catch-22 thing. I think to have a good story, part of that is we got to tell ourselves a good story. I mean, a
Yeah.
podcast that I just put out on Monday morning talks all about that. Be true to that person that's inside of you. You have good inside of you. You have hope inside of you. You have value inside of you already. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to go out there and get it. You already have it.
mhm,
But it's important that we believe that.
mhm,
It doesn't do any good. For instance, I could be a millionaire, but if I don't know I've got $1 million in the bank, of course, a millionaire is hardly anything anymore, right? Remember we were growing up in the 1900s, Joe.
Yes,
Millionaire was what you shot for.
yeah.
yes.
Now it costs that just to buy a regular house in some places, right?
Yeah.
In my
But
neighborhood, yes.
but if I'm a billionaire, but I don't know it, I don't know the money I have in my account, I don't know how much is in there, then I'm not going to live like a billionaire. And the truth is, you are a billionaire value wise. You're
Mm,
a billionaire, you have great value, but if you don't know it, if you don't see, either you're not going to live it. So, part of us having a powerful story is the story we tell ourselves and the story that we actually listen to, which goes right along with our last episode, which is talking about you pay attention, what you pay for, you buy, what you
mm.
pay for, you get, and what we're paying attention to will determine what we are buying. And so if we're paying attention to something positive, if I'm paying attention to my value, then I'm buying my value and I'm feeling,
You're
much more
owning it.
value.
You're owning it,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So you talked about perception, right?
Yep.
And so I think a lot of times my perception's a little skewed, maybe because of the way that I was brought up or things that have happened in my life. What do you recommend when I'm in a situation and I feel like, man, this person's really trying to screw me over because of my past?
Sure.
Like, sure, count to 10. What are the questions that should go through my mind to say, to analyze the situation, whether it's true or it's just my perception?
Well, surprisingly, or not surprisingly, actually, to me, you've answered the question with your question.
Mm.
You actually said, "What are the questions I need to ask myself when I get into this pattern?" Right.
Yeah.
So here's the deal: is our as I understand it, and I just want to before I say anything else, I want to let
Mhm,
everybody who's listening know I'm not the answer man. I'm the
mhm,
question man
mhm,
because questions continue to bring me on a quest. And this is part of Mary's answer that she answered her own question with the right answer. It's questions. So we're always seeking answers, but the way to find answers is through questions. And in fact, Tony Robbins, who I've mentioned before, he says better questions will give you better answers. But it's
Mm.
not just one question, it is a series. It's this idea of ask and keep on asking,
mhm,
knock and keep on knocking, seek and keep on seeking. Because the danger is thinking that I know what somebody else's intention is, that
mhm,
I know why they're doing what they're doing, that I even know why I'm doing what I'm doing. The thing is, I know so little that I must remember to do what Mary just said. What are the questions I need to ask myself and ask the other person to find out what's really going on? Because I've got a story going on inside my head, but it's all based on the echoes of the past.
mhm,
And as Neil Donald Walsh says almost every day online, he says, the past is what got you here, but it's not where you're going next unless you allow it to be. Because in
Mm.
every moment we have this choice. We can either continue along the pattern and just let history repeat itself, or we can say, That was then. I'm here now. Where do I want to go from here? And the possibilities are endless. But to get back to your answer that you built into your own question, what are the questions that I should ask? And first of all, the answer is the questions. Are the questions? Yeah, the answer are the questions. The questions are the answer.
What? I'm
I
sorry,
said that.
what?
Yeah, let me slow that down and slow it down and make it a little more. Okay,
Go for
let's
it.
say it this way:
Yeah.
questions are the answer.
Questions are the answer. Okay.
Questions are the answer. So rather than assume that you know or that your conclusion is accurate, question even yourself,
Mhm,
not in doubt, but wanting to know more. There's a big difference here.
mhm.
If the questions are, I doubt that I really know anything or that I doubt that I can figure it out, well, that's not never gonna help you because then you'll
Why
never
am I
believe
so
anything.
stupid?
Yeah,
Why is this
yeah,
happening to me?
yeah.
Questions like
Mhm,
that are not what
mhm,
you're talking about, right?
Right. No,
mhm,
no, I'm talking about the question to discover. It's almost so there's kind of 2 questions. There's the what if question and the what else.
mhm,
What if is a dangerous question because that can be, what if everything is going wrong? What if this is against me? What if I'm going to get in trouble? What if this person hates me? What if, and
yeah,
and our negativity bias fills the what if question immediately with all the things that could go wrong. We're like a walking, what do you call it? Worst case scenario handbook. Most of us are a walking worst case scenario handbook. What if? And we fill it in with all the bad things. And I tell myself all the time, and for those who are listening, if you're going to play the what if game, you got to play it in every direction. What if
Right.
mhm,
this is
To be
exactly
fair.
what I need?
Yeah.
Exactly what I need. What is the best possible
What if
scenario?
this
What if
works out? What
yeah.
if this does? What if they didn't really mean that negative thing? What if it was what if it had nothing to do with me? That's really
Yes.
good.
Right. What if my perception is skewed and I need a better more information?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
then what else? Okay, this is what I know so far, but not assuming that I know everything. What else? What else? What else? What am I not seeing? What
mhm,
can I find out? And sometimes it's what I'm asking me, sometimes it's what I'm asking them, and
mhm,
sometimes it's what I'm asking someone else. Like, so I can ask Steve about Tim. Tim said this thing and it really hurt my feelings. And I think he was like taking a shot at me. What do you think? And Steve will say, well, I know Tim. He would never do that. Perhaps he had a different intention, right? Or
mhm,
I was in the room and I heard the same words, but I don't think that's what he meant. It's just
mhm.
allowing myself to realize, okay, my perception is such a limited perception. What if and what else? Does that help, Mary?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, Brene Brown has that quote where it says, "In the absence of data, your mind starts making up these stories, and our mind usually defaults to negative thoughts."
Right.
So,
That's right.
yeah.
Okay, I got it. I got it. You just mentioned Brene Brown. And when
I
you were
love
talking, when Joe was talking, I was going to say something from Brene Brown. And then
it.
I thought Joe covered that so well, so eloquently, I'm just going to leave it alone. And then you bring up Brene Brown. That's another thing, too. I think that we need to pay attention to the things that are happening around us. I think that
Yes. Oh, yes.
life is always trying to get our attention. I
Oh,
think God is trying to get our attention.
oh,
We
yeah,
talked about it in the last episode. Like there is an 80s song playing right now
yeah,
above my head. All I have to do is turn the radio on. I have to tune into it. But there
yeah,
are all sorts of stuff playing. There's waves all around me, you know.
Yes.
So if we pay attention, so you mentioned Brene Brown, and I was going to mention Brene Brown. I'm like,
Bring it.
okay, there's
Come on,
something
Steve.
bigger than me in the
Bring it.
whole. So I've been listening to this, listening to Brene Brown the other day, and she talked about how she ran into this situation that was so it made her so angry that when she got home, she was traveling. She called her therapist immediately. Says, "We need to meet. We need to talk." Right, and she let her therapist know what a jerk this other person was and what they did, and and the therapist's answer to her was, "Do you think that person was doing their best?" And she was like, "I know that answer. No, not even close. There's no way she was doing her best." Right. So we know Brene Brown, she's a researcher, right? She
Yep.
interviews people, she whatever that's what she is, right? I don't know if there's
Yep.
another term for it, whatever, but
That's
that
right. She's a researcher.
she
research. Mhm,
researches tens of thousands of people. So she started doing research on this and she found something very interesting. She started asking the question of all these people that she's researched before, do you think people are trying their best or not?
yeah,
And and she said
mhm,
all the people in her research from the past that seem to have a better outlook on life, they all said, "Yes, I believe people are trying their best." So she
mhm,
asked her husband. She still wasn't convinced. She's in the car and they're going on a double date, and her husband thought that the lady of this other couple was going to really get along with her. So in the back seat, and she asked her that same question. She was starting to, it's like this person's cool. So she asked her the question, "Is everyone doing their best?" And she said, Oh, no. So Brene Brown was getting all excited about it. But then this person started talking, sharing a story of an area that Brene Brown was not doing so well in. And it just made
Ooh.
Brene Brown so angry with the whole thing, right? When she got home, she asked her husband, she said, do you believe that everyone is trying their best? And he didn't answer. Walked out of the room, did her thing. She come back and he had still been thinking about it because he finally did answer her. And he says, I think so. He says, I don't know if everybody is trying their best or not,
Oh,
but I do know that when I believe that they're all trying their best, I
yeah.
live a much happier life myself.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Okay, we've only got 18 seconds left in this episode, so we're gonna have to bring it to a close. But this is a great continuation, like to be continued, because I was thinking Brene Brown too, and there's a whole nother Brene Brown thing I could go with. But one thing that Brene Brown does says that I can fit in this last portion here is that she said for years she would tell people, you don't make assumptions about someone else until you've walked a mile in their moccasins. And then she realized if you walk a mile in someone else's moccasins, all you really know is whether their shoe size is your size, whether it fits or not. Either you're gonna get blisters or they're gonna fall off
Mhm.
or they fit. She says you don't really know anything about the person unless what? You ask them. And she
Mm.
said a lot of people the first time you ask them, how you doing? Fine. How you doing? Good. They'll give you like maybe 4 possibilities. She says, you really want to know how somebody's doing? Ask and keep on asking.
Keep on asking, but ask them and pause.
Yes,
Don't
yes.
just ask and walk away. It's when that person knows, when they believe. I got a story for that, but we don't have time for that now. I'll have to do it in the
Right.
next one. But
Save
when
on
they
well,
when
hang
they
on.
believe that you really care, that you're not just saying hello. That's when we say, "How are you?" We're really just saying hello a lot of times. But when you look them in the eye and say, "No, how are you really?" Sooner or later, you're right, Joe. They are going to answer back, and
Yeah.
it's going to be uh, invigorating for them to be able to finally say, "This is how I really am feeling."
Yeah.
So I have a quick question
Go for it.
because I'm puzzled. It's 7:50. How come you're closing at 7:50 instead of at 8? Well, it's 7:50 here.
Because
That'd be
we started at 6:15, so
oh,
we're
so
already
you're like,
35
oh, okay,
minutes.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. We
It's a
stopped.
happy half hour.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. That's a great question though. And I'm glad you asked. See, that's
Yeah,
the other
'cause
thing
I
is
was
that
like,
a lot of times we don't know what the answer is, but we won't ask the question and then we just think that people are
yeah.
idiots. But they just have there's something we
And
just don't know.
I've heard this say too. I know we're closing up real quick, so I want to throw this in real quick. But I just heard this definition just last week of a conspiracy theorist. Joe's laughing because we always do this to each
Yeah.
other. One
We
tries
got
to
1
close,
minute
and the other
left, so
one.
let's do
One more
12
thing.
let's do 12 more
Anyway,
things.
they gave the definition of a conspiracy theorist as a person who comes up with a conclusion without having all the evidence.
Yes.
So then we fill in the blanks. And when we
Yeah.
fill in the blanks without getting the truth from somebody else or getting help from someone else,
Yeah.
it's usually like Joe said earlier, it's usually a negative story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. My mom taught me this when I was little. She said the GIGO can also stand for goodness in, goodness out. It really does come down to what you pay attention to. And what you ingest is what you're going to
And
expel.
that's the other thing I was going to say, but you brought it up, so I was going to shut up, but you brought it up.
Oh, there's
Garbage
always
in,
something else.
garbage out. You know, what are the seven dwarfs always, or 12? How many ever many there are? What was their
All
song?
those
Right?
dwarves.
It's always whatever they were. It is hi ho, it's off to work we go, and they whistle while they work. Right?
Right.
Okay. Well, garbage in, garbage out. What about happy in, happy out?
Yeah, I like
That's
that.
hi ho. And if we put happy in,
Woo.
happy
Hi
comes out.
ho.
We keep trying to get it the wrong way. We got to put happy in what we look to, what we listen to, what we pay attention to, and then it's off to work we go. When we put happy in, happy comes out. It's work time, baby. It is time to go to work. That's enjoyable work when we have happy in because happy comes out.
All
So
right, I have to
I have a challenge for everybody.
go for it.
Do one thing that makes you happy this week.
Yes.
Like that totally makes you happy. Like,
In
yeah.
fact, in fact, just start with paying attention to
Yeah.
something that makes you happy. This is
Yeah.
why gratitude is so powerful, because
Yeah.
gratitude, by definition, causes you to pay attention to
Yeah.
something that you're grateful for.
And I
So
want
that
to
makes you
jump
happy.
on Amy's thing too. When you do that, I mean
Mhm.
Mary's thing. When you do that, guess what? Find one thing that makes somebody else happy.
Oh,
Do
I
that
like
as well.
I
Maybe even
like that.
start there.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, I got to close this one. Thank you, Mary. I see trees are green,
Run.
red roses too.
Right.
I see them bloom
Right.
for me and for you.
And
And I
I
think
think
to myself, what a wonderful wonderful world. I see skies are blue,
Skies out blue.
clouds are white, the bright blessed day in the dark sacred
And
night.
I think
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
and it
I'm
is
not
a
going to play the whole
wonderful
song
world.
because we're out of time, but just think of this
It is a
song.
wonderful world.
I
It
think
is a
to
wonderful world.
myself, because as I
Yeah.
think,
I'm
so I
paying
am.
attention. It's a wonderful world.
Peace out. So thank you, Mary. Thank you, Happy. Thank you, Chet Mosa. Thank you for all who've tuned in live and who will listen to this after the fact. And thank you, Steve-O Hayes,
Thank you, Joe.
for a happy
Thanks, Mojo.
half hour. All right.
Thank you guys for having the show. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Thanks for
We
the
will
input.
catch you next Monday. If you want to join us live, we're on Mondays and Wednesdays. Mondays at 5:30 Pacific will be our first show. The next show is after that, two back to back, and then also the same thing on Wednesday. And then this will be it'll be immediately rebroadcast and available on demand here on Chatmosa and on all the other platforms you can imagine. All right, until next time.
Hey.
Be happy, make someone happy, for happy is within you, not from without. Peace out.
Peace in.
Peace in.